Hello dear students. This is Mrs. Pavitra Ashok. Welcome back to English class. In the previous session, we had discussed first part of the prose The Broken Gate written by Enid Blyton. Old Man Twinkle wanted a boy to help him in his shop to drive his horse cart. So, he put a notice in his window, wanted boy to help after school hours. All the boys saw the notice and many of them thought they would try for the job so that they could do it after school and on Saturdays and Sundays. That evening, 5 boys named George, Henry, Peter, Harry and Jack went to see Old Man Twinkle. Jack, who was called the smallest by his friends, who hesitated to try for the job because of his ragged clothes, and also he came from a very poor family. He accompanied his friends to see who would get the job. At that time, Old Man Twinkle was not ready to see anyone, so he asked the boys to play in the yard till he called them. All 5 boys came out of the house to play in the yard. Seeing a huge yard gate swinging to and fro in the wind, all 5 boys climbed upon the gate. They shouted and pretended to whip the gate to make it gallop. As that gate was old and was not meant to carry 5 heavy boys, it broke away at the hinges. All the boys thought that the Old Man Twinkle was at the front of the shop and he could not see what had happened. In the previous session, we had completed till 5th paragraph. Now we'll continue. Please look at paragraphs 6 to 9. But we ought to tell him, said Jack. It's rather cowardly not to. My mother says we always ought to own up at once when anything's broken. Can't we all 5 go and tell him? No, said others. He might say he won't give any of us the job if we have done a thing like that. We won't say a word. At this moment, they saw Mr. Twinkle shouting at them, so they all went to him. Twinkle interviewed them one by one. He asked them some questions and also asked whether they knew anything about the broken gate. Surprisingly, all the boys pretended not to be knowing anything about the broken gate. Meanings of new words. Coward, a person who lacks the courage to do dangerous things. Pretend, make it seem that something is the case when in fact it is not. Moving on to the explanation. All the 5 boys climbed upon the gate and because of that, the gate broke away at the hinges. They thought that Old Man Twinkle was at the front of the shop and he did not see them. But only Jack wanted to tell him the truth. But what about other 4 boys? They said no. They did not agree with Jack because they thought that if they tell Mr. Twinkle the truth, they would not get the job. Then Mr. Twinkle called the boys for an interview. Twinkle interviewed them one by one. He asked them some questions and also he inquired about the broken gate. Surprisingly, all the boys pretended not to be knowing anything about the broken gate. Now please look at paragraphs 10 to 21. Mr. Twinkle told he would make his choice that evening. So, they all went off except Jack. He was worried about the broken gate. It was dreadful to break a thing and not to tell about it and not even try and mend it. He wondered if he could mend it. He swung the gate a little to see how much it was broken. Old Man Twinkle saw Jack from the window. He called him in. Are you another boy after this job? He asked. No, sir, said Jack. I'm too small and not very clever and I'm a bit ragged too because my mother hasn't much money. Said Old Man Twinkle. I see. Well, what are you doing out there in my yard? Do you know anything about that broken gate? Oh dear, thought Jack. Now what am I to say? I don't want to get the other boys into trouble. He went red and then he said, "Yes, Mr. Twinkle, I do know about that gate." "What do you know about it?" asked the old man. "I was swinging on it when it broke," said Jack bravely, though he didn't feel at all brave, for Twinkle was frowning. "Oh, so your weight broke my gate, did it?" said Old Man Twinkle, and he looked fierce. "Well, not exactly," said Jack. "What do you mean, not exactly?" asked Twinkle. "Oh, please, sir, don't be angry. But you see, some other boys and I were all swinging together on it, and it broke," said Jack. "I wanted to come and tell you, really I did. But the others said no, and I couldn't give them away, could I? I stayed to see if I could mend the gate. That's what I was doing out in your yard." Please look at meanings of new words. Dreadful, extremely bad or serious. Wonder, a feeling of surprise. Rag, a piece of old or tattered cloth. Fierce, violent or aggressive. Frowning, the action of forming an expression of disapproval or displeasure. Moving on to the explanation. After the interview, Mr. Twinkle told the boys that he would make his choice in the evening. So, all 4 boys, George, Henry, Peter and Harry went off except Jack. Jack did not go back with the other boys because he felt very bad about the broken gate. He went near the gate to see if he could repair it. At that time, Mr. Twinkle saw Jack through the window and called him in. He asked Jack if he had come for the job. Then Jack replied that he had not. He said that he was small and not very clever and did not have proper clothes to wear because his mother was poor. Then Old Man Twinkle asked him if he knew anything about the broken gate. How did Jack reply? Did he tell Mr. Twinkle the truth? Jack, a truthful boy, wanted to save his friends. So first he said that only he was swinging on the gate when it broke. When Mr. Twinkle further questioned him, Jack had to tell him the truth. He told the old man that he did not want to give his friends away. Though he had asked them to tell the truth to Mr. Twinkle, they had refused, and he did not want them to get into trouble. So Jack said some other boys and Jack were all swinging together on the gate and it broke. Dear students, in today's class we have completed second part of the prose The Broken Gate. Let me ask you a few questions to know how much you have understood. Your first question is, what did all the boys do in front of the house? Yes, all the 5 boys climbed upon the yard gate. They shouted and pretended to whip the gate to make it gallop. Your second question is, what did all the boys decide to tell the old man if he asked about the broken gate? The boys decided that they would not tell anything about the broken gate because if they would tell the truth, they were sure that they would not get the job. Your third question is, what is the meaning of the word dreadful? Yes, dreadful means extremely bad or serious. Dear students, now I am going to end up this session. I will continue the third part in the next session. Bye for now. Thank you. Have a nice day.